Hi YouTube, so you saw the title and that's why you're here, rescreening. So let's go over a couple of things. This is a screen from an Anderson window. It has a hole in it right here, so we're going to rescreen it. Now, it could be from any window, it doesn't have to be an Anderson, but this piece of rubber right here, it's called the spline. As long as your screen frame or whatever has a spline in it, it's rescreenable. Some screens don't have a spline and they are not rescreenable. That being said, let's get down to business. I've purchased a roll of screen material. This happens to be charcoal. It comes in a couple of different colors, and it also comes in a couple of different materials. This is fiberglass. It also comes in aluminum. You don't need too many tools to do a rescreening job, but you are going to need some. Most important thing is what they call a rescreening tool. And this is basically like a roller, like a small pizza wheel. And this helps get the spline in. You can see the shape of that, and we're going to push the spline in with that. The other end I don't really use, but you supposedly be able to like shape the screen into the spline groove with it. But I just kind of just put the spline in, and that takes care of that. Sharp utility knife, sharp is important. Any job you're doing, always keep the blade fresh in your utility knife. I also like to have a flat bladed screwdriver and a mallet, because sometimes the corners of the spline, the round spline tool doesn't fit all the way into the corners, and I like to give it just a couple little taps with that flat bladed screwdriver and the mallet to get those corners in. Indispensable in this job is a nice big flat table. First thing we're going to do is take the spline out. I like to reuse the spline just because there's all different size splines, and if I have to go buy a new spline, I never get the size right, so I always like to reuse them. Here is the spline. You can see it's like a piece of rubber with splines on it. That's why they call it a spline. I use my tip of my utility knife to just pick the corner up of the spline, and then I just like pull it out into the groove. If you rip it or break it, it's okay, because you can just jam it back together when you're putting it back in. I already told you this is from an Anderson, and I just want to show you on one of these sides here. Okay, so it's a little bent here. If it was any more bent, I would replace this whole screen frame and everything. And the nice thing about Anderson is you just call their 800 number. You could Google search Anderson customer service and get the number. Just give them a ring. I think it's actually 1-800-ANDERSON or something like that, and they'll ship you out a whole new brand new screen. Now we're going to take the old screen out. And discard it. And that was like one run, so now we're going to go a second time and push a little harder. Being careful not to come off the spline and into the screen, because it will put a dent or a rip in it. That's 2 passes. Let's make the 3rd pass and really push it home this time. Right down into the bottom of its groove. I'm going to go to the opposite side. And again, just make sure your screen is straight. You don't really have to pull it tight because the spline is going to pull tight as it goes down into that groove. My spline tool, great. One pass. Now we're going to go to the long sides, and as you can see, I mean, it's kind of pulling itself nice and straight already. So when we get these last two sides in, it's going to be nice and taut. Now there's one corner is sticking up just a little bit on the spline, and I can't get it with the tool. Now we're going to do the last side. And as you're doing this last side, just kind of let it pull itself in. I'm not even like holding the screen from the top, I'm holding from the bottom so it gives it what it wants as it's going down in that groove. And one more corner needs a tap. Sometimes they get the splines, because they're rubber, they get a little stretched out as you're doing it, and they end up long, and just nip them off. It's not a big deal. Done. What we're going to do is take that sharp utility knife. I'm going to make sure I got a new blade in it. This thing totally scares me every time. These blades are so sharp. It's so sharp it doesn't even hurt when it cuts you. You just start dripping. These are the spare blades inside the handle. Okay, here's the new one. Oh, this thing scares me. Okay. Okay, so now taking the sharp utility knife, What I'm going to do is cut on the outside of the spline. I'm going to cut all the way around with the sharp utility knife, making sure I stay on the outside of the spline so I don't cut the new screen. And careful when you pull the scrap away that there's no little pieces left that you're going to pull out of the middle screen. So just make sure everything is cut before you pull the scrap away. And if you watch, I'll try to show you. If you notice your knife's not cutting, it's time to change the blade. I mean, there's no set rule that one blade lasts for one whole window. I mean, it might just cut one side, especially if it's an aluminum screen. In the corner, make sure everything is cut. Follow the outside of that spline. Keep the bugs out, keep the West Nile away. Careful on the corners. And then careful pulling it up, because if there's any little pieces left you want to... Okay, there's our scrap. There's our scrap, okay. Here's our utility knife. And here's our rescreened Anderson. Okay, all set now. Like a hardware store could do this for you too, or a glass place, but it's going to cost you like 60 bucks to get this done. This took about 12 minutes to do. I've done a bunch in my life. Maybe if you've never done a bunch, and it's your first one, it might take you 20 minutes to do, but then you'll know how to do it, and you can do it every time. So there you go. Well, I'll back it up in this video just to show you. Now this one, like I was saying, it has one piece of spline that goes all the way around, not 4 different pieces. So this is the spline for the big door. As you can see, it's a very skinny spline compared to that Anderson had those fat splines. Take the old screen out. And this one, I'll show you, that had worn out by the handle. It's all screwed up. Now this one has like a lock handle on it. It's going to be easier. It has this lock handle on it. It's going to be easier if we take this off. It's just 2 screws. 1, 2 by my thumb. It's just 2 screws to take this handle off, and it's going to be easier to do this job. So we're going to take this handle off. Gonna lay it out. I think I'm gonna masking tape that on there just to hold it while I'm working. One of those corners I was talking about. Carefully taps, because that spline tool doesn't exactly fit into the corners. Blade's dulled up. Back and trim those. Blade's dulled up. Here's our scrap. So there you have it, my friends. Two different styles of windows rescreened in one video for you, just to show you how it's done. Important is the spline tool. Once you got that and replacement screen, you're good to go. Leave questions or comments in the box below. Thanks for watching. Please rate the video now that it's over. I can ask you to rate it. I hate when they ask you to rate the video like before it even starts. Like it, share it with everybody. It really helps me out because I am a full YouTube partner. You know, I love helping you guys out, but the real reason behind these videos is, you know, what I get from Google. So sub to my channel, The Handyman Zone. See you later, friends.